Welcome back to Inverted Aviators RC. Today we're going to be adding an FPV camera inside the cockpit of this UMX A10. Let's get into it. First things first, just like with all the other head tracking and FPV cameras I added to planes, I don't like having extra wires to plug in. So in order to combat that, we're going to have to find the receiver board that's already on this plane and find one of the spare ports that are on the board and use that to take 5 volts from there to our camera so that no matter what we do, when we plug in the battery, our camera's on. So if we take this lid off, we can see that the main board is kind of way back here. So we're going to have to cut into this top of the fuselage, take it out so we can get access to our board. So I think we need to start cutting right in the middle of this decal here, and we're going to go down to the edge of this line here, and we're going to go back just a little bit and then all the way across. So I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and going right down the middle. And just like that, we should be able to pop this top lid out and take a look at our receiver. And it looks like the port that I'm going to try to get to is back in this back corner here. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit more out on this side so I have easier access to the board. And just like that, we can see that we got a little port right here on the bottom that should supply us with 5 volts. A while ago, we found these new mini micro SH 3-pin WS010 by 20 wires. They look like this, and they fit these Spectrum ports really well. So all I'm going to do is line up this port here and plug it in with a set of tweezers, because again, these wires are pretty small. So I'm just going to carefully plug these wires in. And just like that, we have a wire that's connected to the board. So we're expecting 5 volts to come out of these pads, but which wires do we actually use? I remember in the past when we set up the FPV on the UMX Crescendo that these wires might not actually be power ground and signal, they might be slightly reversed. So what I did is I taped each of these wires down so that they're not touching at all. Then I'm going to plug in the battery and use my multimeter to see where I'm getting 5 volts from, whether it's black and red and yellow, whichever one. But that's how we're going to figure out which pads we can safely use to get our voltage. So turn on the multimeter. Then we're going to plug in the plane. And after it's turning on and just fine, now I'm going to touch black and red. You can see we're getting -4. So that's not quite enough. And so if I flip this around, we are getting positive 4.2. That's a little bit more like it. Now if I touch yellow and red, I don't get anything. If we go black and yellow, hello, nothing. So what we're going to need to do is have the black wire from the adapter go to the red wire of the camera. I'm going to say that again. Black wire from the adapter goes to red wire of the camera. All right, let's do it. Now, if you're skeptical about that, you just said it was 5 volts and that came up to 4.2. Well, here's 2 great things that come with your Wolfwhoop WT03 system. If we open up a box, right first away, we got our manual. And in our manual, we can see that the input operating voltage is 3.2 to 5.5. 4.2 is right in the middle. That's great. Put the manual aside. The other thing we need is this little adapter wire. We are going to cut this in half, plug this side into our camera, as you can see here, and we're going to solder the other wires onto these wires. Something we also got to keep in mind before we go hacking away at our adapters is I want the camera all the way up here, right in the cockpit of this plane. So that's going to be way up here, and so we want to have enough wire so that the wires can go down through here, through our adapter, and connect to our wires here without being super tight. So I think as long as we cut this adapter right in the middle, or right near the end, and then leave these as long as we can solder those together, and then we'll have more than enough space to connect our camera. So again, we are going, the black wire from the plane is going to the red wire of this adapter. black to red. I can't stress this enough. Please remember, black to red, red to black. Do not go straight across. You're gonna fry your board and your camera. Please go black to red, red to black. I'm also gonna twist these wires together just to keep them a little more secure, but that should be our adapter wire done. Something else I noticed before we can continue is that inside this Canopy, the battery lead that they give us is for Spectrum specific batteries, and I don't have any of those. So I don't want to go in here and resolder all these wires because see the power comes in there, the ground there. I could go and solder that, or I could just cut this end off here and resolder on my own female XT30 wire just so that we have some nice connections. So I'm going to do that really quick. And just like that, we've got a nice XT30 on there, and we're able to plug in and see how things go. So now for the fun part, getting our camera into this canopy. And now me being me, I could have totally just taken this canopy all the way off, taken the little guy out, put the camera on, and called it a day. But I want to have this canopy in front of it. I want to have this clear plastic. It might make it look a lot worse, but I will make it removable. So I think my plan here is going to peel off this top canopy layer. As you can see, it's like a clear, or the plastic part here is removable. If I just peel it up a little bit, I think this whole thing is going to come off really smooth. So I'm going to take it off, and then I'm going to cut a notch from about the top of this guy's head all the way back in this clear plastic. So when I secure this camera in the top, I can then slide this clear canopy over it, and then from the front, it'll look like it's all clear and all good to go. From the back, you can see that you can just slide it on and off. So that's what I'm going to start doing. Let's see how it goes. Just like that, we got our canopy off, and we have nice access to our guy here. We are going to be cutting him out because we want this camera to be up above this little bottom piece here. We're not going to add anything there yet, but for now, we're just going to cut away at our guy so our camera can sit right up here. And yeah, it's looking good so far. All right, so if we just were to double-sided tape this in like this, of course, that would be pretty poor viewing. So we're gonna have to elevate it up a little bit. My thoughts are just adding a couple pieces of double-sided tape and just stack it up and see where that gets us. So now with a couple layers of tape, you can see we are getting close. I think I want to put one more piece, and then we'll see how close we really are. Now, if we press this into place right up against the back here and try to line it up so that the camera is facing straight down the middle as if it was the pilot, we can squish it into place. You can see that we got a nice little angle over here, straight down the middle, straight down that side, straight down the back. We can still see the signal that we're going to be using. And I think we're going to have our camera wires routed straight down, a tactic we've used many times before. But I think that's looking really nice. And thankfully, this has such a nice high bubble to it that we'll have to just cut into the back. And then I think we'll be good to go here. So again, I'm going to cut down into the middle here and then cut down the back so we can slide. The goal is to slide it like on like this. And then we'll secure it somehow, maybe a little magnet in the back and the front. But yeah, we're just going to clip it down and right into place. We are going to get this hole through the top for our wires. They're tried and true heated up paper clip method. So what I got here is a paper clip, although this is a coated paper clip, meaning there is a little layer of like plastic around it. And if you use these for our technique, it's just going to smell bad. And so I'll do it for the content, but just know if you can have non-coated paper clips, they're going to smell a lot better. Not that it's going to smell good, but just going to heat it up. You see all that melting away? can see, create a nice little hole. I'm going to repeat this process again, and this, make sure there's no rips or tears or any gross looking parts of the foam. There we go. Now we have a nice hole that we can fit our wires through, and we still have all the paint remaining on the sides, and everything still looks very nice. So in the hopes of cable management, we can just push this wire down and through, and then eventually we will have the adapter coming from the plane going right to our camera. Looking good. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to start from the back, and we need a cut that's at least the width of this antenna all the way through the back. So I think I'm going to take just a scissors and try to cut straight up through the top, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so that's coming along nice. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, maybe cut it a little bit wider with a little better scissors, but that's at least what we're going for. Okay, so now we have a little slit in the top here, and if we take our camera, is it going to be wide enough? If we go through there, ooh, it's wide enough, it's just not far enough up. So I'm just going to keep cutting it a little higher until we get the right length. All right, so after a bit more cutting, we can see here that we've got a nice little channel up the top, and if we slip the antenna on as we pass it through, by the time we get to this top part, we can secure it down, and then the canopy just sits nice on top just like before. I think I'm going to glue in some really tiny magnets here, and that way everything can stay nice and secure down. When I said small magnets, I meant it. We've got these really tiny magnets, and I'm going to put one on each of these corners, and then the same on the plane side. So I'm just going to apply a little tiny bit of hot glue and then stick our magnets on. All right, we got our magnets secure on this side, so now it's time to just add them on the other side. And the way I'm going to do that is just like how I did with the Corsairs. I'm going to put our top canopy back on. And see, it sits really nice, but I'm just going to secure it where I want it, and then I can see exactly where these magnets are going to go. So I'm going to put a magnet on the underside of each of them, and then we can secure it in place. There we go. There we go. And now all four sides have a second magnet, and then I just cut a little tiny hole where each of these would fit into it, and then we'll be all set. Now that we've got our camera fully inside our canopy, first, it looks pretty nice. It's all nice and compact. Our wires are coming out the bottom, but it's time to reassemble it into our plane. So the first thing we got to do is take our long adapter wire that we made and twist it together and re-plug it into our port here. All right, so then we've got to weave this adapter wire through the fuselage so that it can poke out through the front. And remember, this is why we left so much extra wire, is that we can take our front canopy part off and we're not just exactly tethered to where this has to be. So we've got now wires coming through the front, and we can tape up this back portion. And so we've just got these two puzzle pieces here. One will go there and one will go here. And I'll just add a piece of masking tape over the top, because in case I want to go back and look at that again, I don't want to have it completely glued in. Plus, it'll be just as strong with a piece of masking tape over the top. So I'll do that, and then all we need to do is attach our camera to the adapter wire on the front, and that should be the whole system ready to go. So as you can see, now we're attached. Once we get our battery back in there, we will have a camera that is powered by the battery of your plane. There's no spare battery needed. It's all ready and good and go. So I'm going to add just a piece of tape here, and then let's get to testing. All right, so for our initial plug-in test, I've got the camera hooked up here. I've got a monitor screen here. So let's just plug in the battery and see what happens. And just like that, we've got a nice camera angle through the front of our canopy view. Look at that. That's going to be super fun to fly with. So without any further ado, let's get out to the field and see how it goes. If you're looking to get into the inside the canopy view as cheap as possible, this is probably your way to do it. You just got to grab your $30 camera and cut into your canopy, and boy, does it look super cool. Even in these crazy winds, because this was about 15 to 20 mile an hour wind, it flew pretty well. It looks pretty sweet. This was with safe off, high rates, just all the works. It flies really well and it looks incredible. So this video is getting a little long, so I'll cut all these videos into its own, or all these flights into its own video. But thank you so much for watching. Stick around for more videos like these. We love all these little UMX style mods and trying to get things to work. So thank you so much for watching. This has been Inverted Aviators RC.